Thank you. We now move to public question 6, Helen Hughes on the East Bristol livable neighbourhood, and you've got 3 questions for Councillor Plowden. Is Helen here? Yeah. So Helen, your first question, if you can summarise it, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. Can I just see who am I addressing?
Councillor Plowden.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. So my questions are about the East Bristol livable neighbourhood pilot project. On the livable neighbourhoods page of the Bristol City Council website, it is stated, designing changes with the local community means they'll meet local needs. This is known as co-design. Community engagement and co-design is emphasised throughout the council literature on the East Bristol Livable Neighbourhood Scheme, for example, in the Decision Pathway Report of April 2023. Special funding for exactly this purpose, the co-design, was even drawn from the European Union. Can the chair of the committee please say why, if the intention was to co-design and meet local needs, the funding from WECA was only available for measures such as blocking roads, putting in cameras known as bus gates, providing bicycle hangers and removing parking spaces, rather than for whatever creative ideas the residents themselves might have had to meet their own needs?
Thanks, Helen. We've been consulting on this since January 2022. There's been 3 rounds of consultation. After each round of consultation, local residents' views have been taken on board and changes have been made. Particularly in between, I think it was July this year, July 2023, significant changes were made in response to some of the concerns expressed by residents. I think it's also worth saying that we're now going to proceed to a temporary scheme where nothing permanent will be done, but people can actually see and feel it for themselves. And that is exactly the point at which we will see more co-production and more co-design. And we will be having another round of engagement 6 months or so after that initial scheme. I've asked officers to provide a clear list of what success looks like so that we can be clear on the objective measures. And I think it's worth saying that when you go onto the map, which is part of the co-design process, it's not just about bus gates and other things, it's also about some positive things like parklets and trees and all the sorts of things that actually improves an area. So I think it's worth saying that there's more than just the list that you've given there that we've been consulting on and we hope to introduce into the area.
Helen, do you have a supplementary question for your first question there?
Things like the parklets and the green areas, have you considered how these places might be used and abused by people on the streets at night time? It's quite well known that in cities those kind of places are not always used for the most healthy purposes. Have you considered that?
I think we have to look at the designs that we're going to put in place and make sure they're acceptable to the community. But actually, I'd like to turn that around and say that the evidence from London, where a lot of low traffic neighbourhoods have been put in place, is that actually crime goes down, antisocial behaviour goes down. You have more people on the streets and more natural surveillance. So it actually tends to sort of balance that out. And I think certainly there was a very good study of the Waltham Forest thing, which showed that crime and fear of crime had reduced as a result of the livable neighbourhood.
Helen, your second question, please.
Yes. Can the chair of the committee also state honestly that it was the council's intention to truly listen to the residents of the area and not simply to carry out the consultations you have described, which can come across as rather pro forma and heavily nudging people towards the council's own plans, which are very similar to plans in lots of other cities, rather than coming from the local people?
So as I said, the different stages of engagement haven't just been a pro forma online, they've been actually out there listening to the community. I was there listening to Somali Youth Organisation just yesterday, and we'll be making changes to the questionnaire after the 6 months of temporary trial as a result. But I think that's exactly what the next step is to trial this, work with local people to see what's working and what isn't, and then redesign before we go permanent, rather than going straight to permanent. Exactly what you want. What you want is actually that we're going to trial this with temporary things and only install things permanently once we've gone through the next round of engagement and consultation. And I think it's worth saying that also there's a scheme of there's a lot of cultural and active travel events that are planned to engage people. So it's not just that sort of tick box consultation.
Helen, do you have a supplementary question for your second question?
Can I ask my third one as well?
Yes, please.
Okay, then I'll move on to that.
Yep.
So there are many residents of Barton Hill, including people with disabilities who are here tonight, members of the Somali community, you've just mentioned that, and people running local businesses who are really upset and quite angry about the decision that has been taken to implement the project. Despite their objections, they don't feel they've been listened to, and they fear that their lives will become much more difficult once it's been implemented, if not intolerable. What will you do about this if it continues to be the case? Or will you be able to listen to these people now, not just when the scheme's been put into place as a trial?
I think we've already listened to local people, and there's a whole, like I say, there's been changes already made 3 times over. And one of the key changes is several exemptions to the bus gate. So emergency service vehicles, refuse vehicles, taxis, private hire vehicles, professional carers providing care in the community, and particularly those in receipt of the personal travel budget to assist with their mobility needs and those of the send children to get them home to school transport. So I think there's also additional measures already being delivered and further developed to support local businesses throughout the trial scheme to respond and explore different uses of the public space. And the engagement team is going to be providing journey planning advice and active travel grants as well throughout the scheme to try and help people change their behaviour. I think we've got to remember that I don't think do nothing is an option for transport in the city, and we've all got to collectively think about how we let the air out of the balloon rather than just assuming that we're going to squeeze the balloon and see it displaced elsewhere.
Helen, you've got one more supplementary if you wish.
I suppose then my question would go back to funding and be about why is the funding for these projects not linked at all into funding for better public transport, which would be a carrot rather than a stick to encourage the behaviour change that you're looking for?
I think that's a really fair comment, and we have been engaging with WECA to try and get some more funding to increase the frequency of the number 5 bus, but not been successful to date. That's something we'll keep doing. However, some of the bus gates that you're concerned about will actually help the number 5 bus go more quickly through the neighbourhood, and that I believe will mean, well, is objectively the case, that you'll need fewer buses then to serve the same route, because if they're more reliable and don't get caught in traffic congestion, then we should see improvements. We've got other measures coming forward to put more money into supporting bus services, and that's certainly, I would like to see these 2 things going hand in glove. I do accept that bus services is something that we're going to need to improve, and that they're not good enough, and we really want to see a step change in the way bus services work, and bus gates are part of that process.
Thank you very much, everyone.